What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Movie Roundup. Now, this is the show where I love to talk about all the latest films that came out to your local movie theater. And those movies that came out this week are Suicide Squad, 9 Lives, and The Little Prince. Suicide Squad. Oh my god, what a controversial film. The critics absolutely hate this film, but the general audience are absolutely loving this film, and they went out in droves. I mean, this film made $133 million in its opening week, and so Warner Brothers must be happy as can be. Now let's see how it'll do in week 2, but at this point, Warner Brothers must be ecstatic. And then I went to go read some of those reviews for the Suicide Squad, and you definitely tell that the critics were taking all their superhero fatigue, and they're just writing some unfair reviews. Because this film is not as bad as you would think. Yes, as a standpoint, if you're looking at it from a film standpoint, the editing's really bad. The pacing is terrible. There's only a first act and a third act. They forget about the second act. And the third and final confrontation with Enchantress is absolute dog shit. I mean, some of the worst editing and fight sequences I've seen since Fantastic Four from last year. With all that, you would think that this film was just going to tank hard. And it doesn't. Just for the fact that the actors that they got into this film, with Margot Robbie playing Harley Quinn, Jared Leto playing as Joker, Will Smith playing as Deadshot, Jai Courtney, for crying out loud, who's one of the worst actors out there, he did an awesome job at Captain Boomerang, and Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. You see these people on screen and you absolutely love them. And I was just like, holy shit, you had the best actors for these characters. And this is what you're giving them? I mean, the film as a whole is crap. It's an absolute hot mess. But you have these characters that just raise this film up from a shitty-ass film to an enjoyable film just with them alone. And some of the dialogue that they have between each other is really good. And Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, now that's the one, besides the Joker, needed to hit the hardest, because she is one of the most badass female characters that's in the DC universe. And that's saying a lot, because Harley Quinn's in there, but Viola Davis, for me, really stole the show. Anytime she was in there for a short while, but her presence in that film, and as the film keeps on going, you hate her even more, but you're like, okay, I can definitely see why you picked this crew, because they have a little piece of you in all of them. And Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, the gods, when God must have made her, he had Harley Quinn in mind. And the casting director who got Margot Robbie to be in this film must have heard the praise of God saying, you must give this woman the Harley Quinn role. And she kicked it out of the ballpark. And to see how she plays off with Jared Leto, it was pretty much amazing. Now, Jared Leto had a lot going against him. You had Heath Ledger's Joker, which is by far the best Joker. But what he did, he tried to change a little bit, because there's so many different versions of the Joker that Jared Leto just makes it its own. And there's so much that Margot Robbie and Jared Leto, that their chemistry together just makes the film so much better. And it made me think, instead of having Enchantress as the main villain, why couldn't they have Joker, who knew that he had to get Harley Quinn out of prison? So what does he do? He derives a plan to get Viola Davis, or to get Amanda Waller, to get the Suicide Squad out there. And he's given this big old distraction as he's trying to get Harley Quinn. That would have been an awesome story. And that's the story I think they should have gone on with instead of the Enchantress. Because the Enchantress scene was so... The character of Enchantress was so lacking that it hurt the film as a whole. And that's the thing about this film. This film is diverse. And if someone says to you, I hate the film, I can see why. If someone says to you, I love the film, I can see why. I just wish that they would have given David Ayer, the director of this film, a little bit more time with the film, because he only had 6 weeks to write the script. And that 6 weeks, you definitely tell he needed some more time to flesh out these characters. And then to hear that they took away the final cut of the film from David Ayers and gave it to the guy who did the trailers. And so they had competing cuts. They had the David Ayer cut, which was a lot more darker and had a lot more Joker, I hear. And then you had the guy who cut the trailers doing his version. So it seems like there's a lot of mismatching that was going on, and the film as a whole was just a hot mess. And I'm really intrigued to see, because I will be buying this film day one if it comes out on DVD and they say, here's the ultimate cut with the David Ayers version of it, because I would be so down for that. And if you want what I consider the real Suicide Squad film that I was hoping for, is in David Ayers' previous film, Fury. That was a film about some bad guys who you really dislike, but you've grown to like them throughout the film. And that's what I thought they were going for the Suicide Squad film. Did they hit all their marks? No, they didn't. Does it deserve that Rotten Tomatoes score of 26%? No, it doesn't. I enjoy this film. It's surprising to say that, because after I first saw it, I hated it. I mean, I absolutely hated the film, because I wasn't looking at it as a person that was looking at the cast and what they did, but I was looking more at the David Ayer, what I thought was David Ayer, and the direction of the film. And I was looking at the editing, the score, and just the pacing of the film, and I just thought it didn't hit. But on my second viewing, I just loved hanging around with these characters. That was like, I can overlook all the hot mess that is from the film standpoint. So if you've seen Suicide Squad, let me know what you think about it. And now on to our next film. And the next film that came out was The Little Prince. This Netflix original film, which I was hoping that Netflix is going to start going through an Amazon type of route, where Amazon Studios is buying films left and right, but they're putting out the films into the theater so that they can actually be theatrical. They can actually have this bigger than life feel to them. Because let me tell you, watching The Little Prince on a smaller screen compared to a thing that I could have gone to a movie theater would have been amazing. And I bet it would have got a lot more people in there. Let's just hope that Netflix takes the Amazon Studios format and says, we're going to release our film on theater and then later on put it out on video on demand. I loved this film up to a point. Because when I was just looking at the poster, I was like, this film looks like it's not going to be very good. But this film grabs you at the beginning. It takes you on a journey. You have this little girl who's trying to get into this pristine school. And her mother has her on a leash. She says, you have to do this, this, and this every single day. You have no time for friends. You have no time for your life. You have no time to being a kid. And they move into this new home. And their next door neighbor is this old man who gives this girl a story. He just throws this paper into her window, this little airplane, and she gets it, she reads it, and she gets enthralled by the story that this old man is telling. And she wants more. And so you see her just starting to learn what it is to be a kid. And as that's being told, it's being told through the story. And as she's reading the story, we're seeing the story come to life. And the way that they do this is by changing up the cartoon style, where it will look like it was a claymation. And then it will look like it was animated with wood. It's just such a beautiful and stunning looking film. There are even times in there where I just started bawling just because how this girl is just being trapped by everything in life telling you have to do this, this, and this to be successful. But she just couldn't be the little kid that she wants to be. And then this man just comes in and says, this is what it means to be a kid. Such a beautiful story. And I think everyone should go out and just check it out. I mean, it's so easy. Everyone in the world basically has a Netflix account. And you can go watch this movie right now. It is worth it. I mean, there's just some moments in there that just blew my mind away. And then there's a turn where the film just becomes a lot more unimaginative, and I know it was meant to do that, but it was just a hard turn that took a film that I was looking at, I was like, oh my god, this could be in my top 10 films of the year, to a film I was like, oh no, this film took a hard left turn and took a little too far of a left because it just lost all of its momentum. This film, I can't wait to watch again. I can't wait to show this film to my little nephews and be like, here's a Little Prince. Everyone, just go and watch this film. It is definitely worth it. And now on to the final film that came out this week. 9 Lives. Kevin Spacey is a fucking cat. Oh, good lord. This film, I went in with such low expectation. I was like, okay. I went to high expectations with Suicide Squad. I thought this film's going to be awesome. But it came out to disappoint me just a little bit. And then this film, I went in with the lowest expectations, expecting it to be in my bottom 10 films of the year. And it was, at the beginning, such a shit show. I mean, it starts out with the movie with Kevin Spacey jumping out of a plane to go and make a grand entrance onto his tower that he's building in New York. It was so bad. Like, the green screen and everything was just so terrible. And I was like, oh God, what am I in for? I'm in for a terrible film. Like, even worse than I was expecting. And it felt like a studio went and said, let's just make the most generic film we can make. And they do that. But once Kevin Spacey gets turned into this cat and he has to learn some life lessons about not to overlook his family and put his family first and before his business. And I was just like, okay, film, I'm getting where you're going. I'm not intrigued, but I'm enjoying what I'm seeing. I mean, it's not as terrible as the first act, but the second and third act, I was like, okay, this feels like a 90s film coming to life in the year 2016. And then I go to find out that the director, he did a lot of 90s films. Like, he did The Men in Black, I think something about Shorty. And you definitely get the feeling of 90s all over this. It's like watching the movie Liar Liar. It almost is exactly the story of Liar Liar, except this time, instead of somebody not being able to tell lies, Kevin Spacey gets turned into a cat that's learned a lesson about family and love and all that mushy stuff. And when he gets to turn into a cat, the film kind of takes a turn and makes it a little bit enjoyable. But overall, it was just a lacking film that had little to no originality to it. And if it wasn't for Kevin Spacey, I don't even think this film would have been made. So that's what this week was all about. It was a week where I go and watch films that I was really excited for, kind of got disappointed by, and then watch it again and be like, okay, I can see it through his faults and I can really enjoy it. And then you got The Little Prince, which is a film that could have been so grand and so excellent, but I had to take a hard left turn and it made itself become a weaker film. And then you got film like 9 Lives, which is just there. And I think it only made like $6 million in the box office this week. It's definitely going to be a film that's going to go on the wayside, go into the dollar bin. This has been the month of August, people. When I say the month of August is terrible, the month of August is effing terrible. And then September is almost like January, where August is more like February. We're in for kind of the low tide before the Oscar films come up, where after September, we'll finally be getting all the good films, all the Oscar films. And so, if you like what you've been hearing, what you've been seeing, please subscribe, like, comment on what you've seen this week. My name's David, and I'll see you guys next week.